tricks once again. Of course, we already kind of know what it's all about. Biden is stubbing our allies who are involved in the Abraham Accords. I had a thought today earlier when I was thinking, in my thinking time, I had a thought about Mitt Romney voted once again to impeach President Trump on another sham, trumped-up charge. How many of y'all think Mitt Romney will try to run again against President Trump? I'm pretty sure he's going to try to do it again in 2024 if he's around. To me, he's a traitor in the ranks of the Republican Party, as well as Mike Lee. We will remember his constant hatred for the advancement of America's First Plan. Talk about racist. I'll tell you, I've never liked Mitt Romney. I'm sorry. I know we're supposed to love everybody, but I never liked Mitt Romney. He always reminded me of when we were coming up with what we used to call them as phonies. He always reminded me of one of those people you're talking to and they're saying stuff to you and you're like, is this guy for real or is he just pulling my leg? A lot of times that is the exact impression I got from Mr. Romney. He is, to me, a phony. He seems like a phony. The reason why he didn't win the nomination for the Republican Party was just that fact. He was a phony. It's like people look at him, I don't know what it is. Maybe he's like the, the cookie cutter politician. And when they see him, when he's running, it's like, this guy, he looks like something out of some ad or some TV movie or something. And that's kind of the impression I always got with him. But I always had a certain uneasiness about whether he could even be trusted. Well, state GOP leaders are standing by their decision to censor senators who voted to convict President Donald J. Trump in siding with the Democrats in their latest impeachment sham effort. Chairman Michael Whatley of the North Carolina Republican Party spoke to CNN on Tuesday on the censure of Richard Burr, Republican from North Carolina. He pointed out the difference of opinion with the Republican Party's stance. Reading what Mr. Whatley said, he said, well, I think the cancel culture where we see the president kicked off of all, the former president kicked off of all social media, where we see people losing their jobs, where we see people who have been hit on social media or deplatformed entirely is no different from us as a state party saying that we disagree with one particular vote cast by one of our senators that we placed into office. So what he said pretty much is this, people. If you're going to come out on a platform and when the rest of your party votes in a certain direction, to come up against your party is not standing for your own opinion because the party has had you elected, and this is one of the Democrats are pretty good at this. They stand behind their platform regardless of whether they agree with it or not. But the thing is this is what they're required to do in their party, is to back up the platform on which they stand. If a state or city, well, a state mainly sends somebody into the government as a senator, they need to be representing the people or the constituents of their state. If they fail to do so, they deserve to be censured. So this thing with Richard Burr, just one of them, there was like several Republicans, 7 of them who voted on to impeach President Donald J. Trump, which is pure foolishness. The man wasn't even in office. How can you impeach somebody that's not even there? You have to be able to remove him from office. What was the purpose? Well, the purpose was to try to get him with a conviction so he could not run again, because a convicted felon cannot run for office. Of course, maybe some of you didn't know that. Also, Dave Ball of Pennsylvania also said of Senator Pat Toomey, we did not send him there to vote his conscience. We did not send him there to do the right thing or to whatever he said. It was doing Ball stated. We sent him there to represent us. And see, that's the problem. If you believe in a party platform, if you want to run on a party platform, you need to stick with the party. You can't just go off and do whatever the heck you want. If you want to go off and you want to be a member of another party, guess what? You do as some Democrats have done. You say, well, look, I'm going to go over to the Republican Party. And if you're a Republican, if you don't like what the Republicans are doing, then leave the party. Because if you're going to run on a platform opposing them when they're supposed to be showing unity in our government in regard to the people who are to be represented by the people of the platform that they're running on, which means if they run on pro-life and not pro-choice, you don't go hang over to pro-choice when you're supposed to be supporting the stance of the party. So, I agree. He should definitely be censored. Several others should be censored too. Utah Senators Mike Lee and, of course, our friend Mitt Romney, they are just wolves in sheep's clothing. And as far as Utah goes, they're just proving their point, this polygamy thing. Hey, just let it go. The what do you call it? Polygamy Public Party. That's what I call them. The Republican Party. Because it's like, well, you don't agree with this person that you're mated with. Hey, just say what you want to say with the other person that you hooked up with and deal with that spouse. You know, and so pretty much that's the way I see it. They should face censure as well. But of course, Utah is so freaking liberal in their view of the Republican Party. We need to replace those Republicans in the Utah Party as well. They claim that Mitt Romney and Mike Lee need to tell them why they voted. Well, why did they vote for impeachment when it was unconstitutional in the first place? Forget about unconstitutional. Impeachment is voted to unseat somebody. They should have been impeaching Joe Biden. That's who they need to be impeached because he was in office and he has committed crimes against this country. He is a person who has committed abuse of power in the Obama administration. He's committing abuse of power in this administration here, the Biden administration, by signing all these executive orders, ignoring the American people, calling us domestic terrorists, if you may. But this gentleman, whatever his name is, Pat, I think it's Pat or something, he said that they showcased a diversity of thought. Give me a freaking break, a diversity of thought? They should be showcasing diversity of thought. They were put there to represent the people, the Republican Party. In Utah, you're not going to tell me that there are not people there in Utah who believe and who stand behind America first and our former President Donald J. Trump, because I know they're there. And Mitt Romney, Mike Lee, you'll see the results. Mitt Romney in 4 years, and Mike Lee, you'll see him in a couple of years as we replace your sorry behind in not a couple of years, I guess 4 years with you too. Replace your sorry behind in the Senate as well. Well, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with you here in a moment on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Well, former President Trump finally broke his silence involving his impeachment trial acquittal. In a statement released by Save America PAC on Tuesday, he said, the Republican Party can never again be respected or strong with political leaders like Mitch McConnell, Senator Mitch McConnell, at the helm. And I totally agree with him. The man looks like a turtle for one thing, but another thing, He's weak. He's a wimp. We need to get people like him out of there. Matter of fact, I'd like to get McCarthy over in the Senate, and he could be the head of the Senate. Once that happens, he could run for Senate and have somebody else run in his place in the House so that we can have him over there. Because I believe he could be the voice for the Republican Party. Because I believe he has the right ideals, and I believe that he's strong, and I believe he'll continue to stand strong and in Congress, and as well if he becomes a senator. President Trump also slammed the minority leader for losing the Senate in 2020. I agree with him. And not fighting hard for the election integrity. He also spoke of his family's substantial Chinese business holdings. To me, that should be a conflict of interest, people. He should not be allowed to hold office in this country if he's sleeping with the enemy. Literally. His wife is from China. I mean, you can marry who you want, but if you're going to be involved in this government, you should not have so much interest in the Chinese government that you're trying to protect them in our government. Even when they do stuff against the American people, like they've done constantly. And I told some of y'all in the beginning, when we began this pandemic deal, or whatever the heck you want to call it, pandemic, I believe a lot of it was planned because they try to push the numbers, and it's been proven that the numbers have not even exceeded the normal influenza deaths, and I believe a lot of them were actual influenza deaths, not COVID-19 deaths. Now, of course, that's my belief. May not necessarily be the opinion of this station, but I do believe that a lot of the numbers were pumped up, and I believe the future will show that that is absolutely true. So, we see Mitch McConnell here. He comes out, he votes with the Republicans, as he should, and then he comes back and he says that President Trump was guilty. Let's go ahead. First I'll tell you, I believe it presents a conflict of interest in America, that he should be removed. He should literally not be sleeping with our enemies. Yes, he's sleeping with the enemy. He's married to a Chinese lady. Nothing wrong with that. I understand. But to be a representative in our government, siding with a government that hates us, that wants to destroy us, I don't think so. This came after McConnell voted to acquit Donald Trump trial, but said he was responsible for the Capitol Hill breach. He should just go to Democrats, speaking out of both sides of his mouth. He need to just freaking go over to the Democrats. We don't need your sorry butt. We might have a balanced power. We already got a balance in power problem. I wish you would just go ahead and go to the Democrats, because you're kissing their butts and laying with their Chinese friends anyway. You know, you got people in the freaking Congress that have been voted into Congress again who were having affairs with Chinese spies. Swalwell we're talking about. Affairs with a Chinese spy for 10 years. Chinese spy. Known Chinese spy. In his office, stealing U.S. secrets and transporting them to their people over there in China. Let me tell you something. Before I read the statement that Mitch McConnell made, I'm going to say one thing. And this cracked me up. Now, I'm seeing more made in America now, but who knows? It could have changed in our stores now. But I noticed when this pandemic came up, how China was so apt to help us to get masks for us, to get masks so that we had masks to wear. Wasn't that wonderful? Another $1 billion scam by the Chinese to screw us. And we just accepted it. If you look at most of the stores, Walmart, most of the grocery stores, look up those masks. Pick up those masks and look on the back of them. Maybe some of y'all got those masks that you got at the stores. Read what it says on the mask. It says, most of the majority of them says, made in China. Made in China? The majority of those masks say made in China, people. Listen to what Mr. Mitch McConnell, I'm calling Mitch McConnell Mr. because he's going to be out of the Senate come next term. Former President Trump actions that preceded the riot were disgraceful dereliction of duty. Give me a freaking break. This is McConnell talking. They're practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day. No question about it. No question about it. Yeah, sure, Mr. McConnell. No question about it. And there's no question about it. You're sleeping with the enemy. Literally and physically sleeping with the enemy. In other words, you're actually physically sleeping with the enemy, and you're putting money into the enemy's economy through your Chinese business connections. Your butt shouldn't even be at the head of the minority leadership. Matter of fact, they need to replace your butt. They need to put somebody else in your place. Let you be one of the little senators down there and put somebody who is going to stick up for the American people at the head of the minority. And I hope they do shove you behind out of the minority leadership. They need to censor you and take you out of the minority leadership because there's a conflict of interest. You have millions of dollars invested in Chinese companies. Companies of our enemies. They are enemies. They may say they're allies, but they don't care. They want us destroyed. They got their president in there now, and they're still trying to hurt the American people. Donald Trump ended his statement with a plea to the Republican voters, saying this is a big moment in our country. We cannot let it pass by using third-rate leaders to dictate our future. You hear that, Senate? Senate Republicans, we cannot use third-rate leaders. Get somebody in that position that is a powerful leader and remove Mitch McConnell from leadership. I know you could do it, so let's get it done. He also vowed to be back with a mega primary challenges in 2020 midterms. He's going to come back and he's going to get these Congress people that have been in here who's kissing the butts of the Democrat. He's going to get them out of office, those 10 that I like to talk about, and those 7 in the Senate. Well, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with you in a moment here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Well, Pennsylvania State Representative Frank Ryan, also a CPA, said President Trump was right to call out the voting irregularities in our state. Ryan said his point was valid. That's President Trump's point, guys. What did I tell you? Cover up, cover up, cover up. The mainstream media has been avoiding it. The gentleman said he wanted to come out in the mainstream media, but they wouldn't hear it. But he said he will not say that it's necessarily fraud because he has just begun his investigation. He said the process needs to be controlled. And in the 2020 election, he said it did not exist. The process controls did not exist. He feels that the mainstream media is being negligent and not reporting it correctly. And they are involved in the misdirection and the shift away from what needs to be looked at in our election systems here in this country. Well, once again, Biden uses climate change as an excuse. This climate change foolishness has never been proven. Matter of fact, a lot of scientists have proven it to be false. Look at our winter here in Houston right now. They came up with some old flimsy claim that ice was melting up in the Antarctica somewhere, and it was melting down and causing air to flow up, and because of the heat in there. Give me a freaking break. They'll think of anything to say you're a bill of goods on this climate change garbage. As I said, Biden is using climate change again as he makes excuses. The Biden administration continues to say climate change is the number one threat to our national security. I have no idea how he figured that one out. Ignoring the ongoing China virus, southern border crisis, and himself worsening the economic turn down. I believe that climate change is the Democrats in control of the House and Senate. That's climate change. That's what's going on. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as I can see, the Democrat Party, head of the House and the Senate, is the only threat to national security. Listen to what they've done, people. They're trying to open up our borders. They're trying to allow human traffic to go rampant. And it's been proven, guys, that there's a connection between the Biden administration and several other administrations prior to this administration, headed by Democrats and even some Republicans that supported human trafficking throughout the world. Look into it yourself. You'll find out. This is why they want open borders, because they don't want you to stop the flow of the Benjamins or the gold or whatever financial things that are out there that they can prosper on. What did I tell you? It's all about the Benjamin. This is all the Democrats really care about. They could care less about whether you got food on their table as long as they got food on their table at their houses and their families are fed. I'm telling you guys, this is a sad, sad day in our country where we had Democrats in the leadership and the three areas of government: legislation, Senate, lawmakers, and I dare say the presidency. Biden is snubbing our allies, Israel and Saudi Arabia, because of the Abraham Accords that were put together under Donald Trump. They praised Donald Trump for the Abraham Accords. You think Biden's going to go trying to kiss to them or kiss up to them? No, he's pushing them back, and it's going to hurt our country. There he goes again. He's hurt us here on the home front, and now he's trying to hurt our foreign policy areas. Israel is our friends, and they've been our friends for many years. They protected us and let us know about many things that were going on overseas through the intelligence. Where does that place us in the world stage? Biden is playing games with the U.S. and its allies over their unwarranted hatred of Donald J. Trump. They need to stop this crap. How long is this going to go on? Is it going to go on for the next 4 years? I hope not. But judging by the Democrat Party and their pettiness and the way they rule things, I dare say it may well go on for a while. And after that, it may not go on. And then Mitch McConnell thinks he's going to escape. They're going to be after him, and they're going to challenge him. Maybe even after this broadcast, they're going to challenge him. The Democrats are going to challenge him on his involvement with Chinese business. To him, President Biden, he is enemy number one because he is still working on, pardon me, I didn't want to say that. President Donald J. Trump, to this administration and to this Congress, to this Senate, is still enemy number one because he's still working to clean up the Washington swamp. He hasn't stopped, and he has people that are still listening to him in the Republican Party since he is a former Republican president. He still wields a lot of power in this country. Psaki has been avoiding questions about President Biden not talking to Israel or Saudi Arabia. Although it's no set date on a call with the Prime Minister, Psaki assured the U.S. is still in communications with Israel. Psaki states, Israel, of course, and I lie. Israel is a country where we have an important strategic security relationship, and our team is fully engaged. Fully engaged in what? But listen to this, people. I want you to listen to the importance of our allies to this president sitting in the White House. Listen. And then she goes on to say, fully engaged with our team, not at the head of the state level, not at the head of the state level. One of the most influential governments in the world, not at the head of the state level, but not quite yet. Not quite yet. They stand behind us in world peace and peace in the Middle East. But not yet. Then she goes and say, but very soon. Very soon what, Miss Psaki? Very soon what? What the heck is she talking about? Biden loves the Iranians, and Iranians hate Israel. And we know that. They hate Israel. The Iranians can't stand Israel, and they want to destroy Israel. So we have a country now, our country, the U.S., who is coming up against our allies. And believe you me, people, here we are. It's been over a month, and he hasn't contacted the leaders of Saudi Arabia or Israel. Oh, boy. I'm telling you, people. Well, we're going to take a short break, and I'll be right back with you here in a moment on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Well, she said also, Psaki, the press secretary for the White House is looking into recalibrate. This girl, I mean, these words she uses, what do we use as words? Weaponry words. They're looking to recalibrate relations with Saudi Arabia, adding it will be a shift from President Trump's approach. Why do we begin talking about recalibrating with Saudi Arabia? Why did she say anything about Israel? Why did she follow that with what they were doing in regards to Israel? Well, let me tell you why. Somebody is in Saudi Arabia's pocket, and I dare say that gentleman by the name of President Joe Biden. Yes, he wants to make us energy dependent once again on OPEC. The Biden administration cares nothing about this country and its energy independence. They are trying to return us to what they call consumers in the world instead of producers and profiting from the tech and energy production. Now, we were starting to prosper under President Donald J. Trump. They couldn't stand that, so they went into all ways to fix this election. Now, we can't go back through the election. We have to wait several years. But it's already been proven on several levels that things were not right in the 2020 election of President Joseph Biden. One of the things that are not right is the fact that he did a quid pro quo himself, what they were trying to accuse and impeach President Trump for. If any voted for Democrats to control the House in 2022, it will be turning our country over to China and others like them who hate us. So when you go out to vote in about another year, you better vote for whoever the Republican is. Because you vote to make the Democrats back in control of the House again, people, we might have well bend over. He used to say years ago, bend over and put your hand between your legs and kiss your butt goodbye, because that's what's going to happen to the American people in regard to our freedom and our independence in the world. Our freedom of speech, our freedom and our rights to bear arms, our freedoms to say anything. You think it's bad now, wait until the next election when they try to do the same thing they did over social media. Wait until the next presidential election. We may have an all-out war here in this country when it comes to the next election, especially if Donald J. Trump runs again. Not because of him, but because of their hatred for Donald J. Trump, which is foolish. Because I'm telling you right now, the American people are going to stand behind Donald J. Trump or whoever he stands behind. Because they know that he is for the American people. He is for America first. We need to stop this Democrat Party and what they're doing. Somehow we've got to stop it. And if we can stop it on the state level, we need to vote for Republican governors, start putting the states and the cities in control of Republicans so that we can at least have control over our areas and not be subject to federal government rule. Because if you put the Democrats back over your states and over your cities, guess what? Then the federal government, where the Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the executive branch, they're going to be calling the shots in your state. And believe you me, your Democrat governors and senators or whatever, Democrat governors and city mayors are just going to be their puppets. It's like the puppets we have here in the Houston area. They're being puppeted by the White House and by the federal government. We can't have that. When President Donald J. Trump was in office, he wasn't puppeting anybody because what he was doing was representing the American people. And when you represent the American people, of course they're going to come behind you. Of course you're going to have 6 million more votes than President Barack Obama when he got reelected. So that tells you right there, something fishy going on when you got President Obama getting reelected with 69 million votes and President Trump not being reelected with 75 million votes. And them saying that Joe Biden got 81 million. Give me a freaking break. If anybody looked at the people when they went out to his rallies and his support, I doubt if the man got any votes. I really do. I doubt if he got any votes. I almost say that they probably duplicated the votes so that he could get up to the numbers that President Trump was at and then put the little bit he had on top of that. That's really what I believe happened. Because I don't think that Joe Biden got the votes they said he did. I really don't believe he did. And they said for years that President Trump wasn't their president, and Joe Biden definitely is not our president. He's definitely not our president. He might be seated in the White House. He might have been put in there. I'm not going to say duly elected because there was so many corrupt things going on in the election process when it was going on. I can't say he was duly elected or whether the people's votes were really counted. It's already been proven that there were voter irregularities and they refused to look into it during the election. So, and not only that, as I said before, they blocked the stuff on Hunter Biden too and his involvement in that criminal activities that were going on in their family. They blocked it, didn't have it out there. So the people didn't have any right or any thought of voting on this gentleman who has some legal challenges in his past, or very near past, receiving billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars from the Chinese, from Ukraine, and from several other people. President Trump and his family haven't been involved in that. They still will be talking about it right now. But of course they're not. That's why you don't hear anything about them at all, except little petty insults that they throw out at Donald Jr. whenever they get an opportunity to do so in the mainstream media. Well, once again, I want to thank you for joining us here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. Thank you, and I want to tell you what I always like to tell you, especially for us here in Texas. I want to say God bless you, God bless America, and God bless the world. Until next time, this is David Colbert from the Black Conservative Voice saying good night and God bless.